South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza. If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone.
Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement.
Ready to ramp up your excitement for playoff football? Join our hosts as they break down the matchups, key angles, and futures markets in the final episodes of Football Frenzy.
Seattle Seahawks get it done.
You look at these two teams and you say, wow, they did really well against quality opponents.
Brock Purdy to throw an interception, tied up with the Seahawks in this game. I think that's a little bit of a correlation.
I would have given a huge ups to the Rams defensively. Not anymore.
Don't miss your chance to cash tickets and root for your favorite team. Stream Football Frenzy every Friday at noon Pacific.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in. Time for your daily dose of Sports by the Book. I am Alex White. He is Ryan McCormick. For the next hour, we've got a lot going for you. We've got our normal segment, not our normal. For the next couple weeks, we're going to have a segment dedicated to the Super Bowl. So we'll have today's Super Bowl segment. We've got hockey, we've got basketball, and we've got futures. We're going to talk about both NHL and NBA, and we'll give you our top 10 for the NHL. Ryan, how are you doing? You got a hat on today.
I do have a hat on today.
I have a feeling that is that's got a purpose.
Yeah, it says Girl Dad. I'm also wearing pink. It is my daughter's 2nd birthday today. So I've been a dad for 2 years now, and it's gone way too fast. And yeah, just really appreciative of the day. And yeah, we'll get into what we got for you guys today. It is not a super busy sports day, but we got plenty to talk about.
Very good. Everybody, if you'd like to wish Aubrey a happy 2nd birthday, we'll have confetti by the end of the show. I'm sure of it. You might have caught Sean a little off guard there, but very exciting stuff there. And yes, we'll start, as we always do, with a nice little recap. Just want to remind everybody, and we appreciate the numbers moving up as of late. So just double check and make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Trying to hit that next goal of 2,100 here. So let's start with the recap. Pretty good day. Honestly, I was kind of the dead weight and I went 3-2, but you and Matt Neverett had a very good night last night. So let's do a nice little recap on the hardwood and on the ice.
Yeah, your our daily recap brought to you by the South Point Sportsbook. These numbers are based on the closing number here at the South Point Hotel and Casino. So we'll start, on the hardwood. NBA favorites yesterday went 6-1 straight up, 3-4 against the spread, and totals were 1-5-1, 5 unders, 1 push, and 1 over there in the NBA. Going to men's college basketball, 26-9 straight up were favorites, 13-21-1 against the spread. Though there was a pick'em game there, that is the push there. Even though they did win, so I guess it would be more of a 14-21 there. But anyway, totals 16-19, 16 overs, 19 unders there in men's college basketball. And then in the NHL, I was 4-2 on my whiteboard, but favorites yesterday 4-6 straight up. 4 puck lines were covered, 3 of which were reverse, including the LA Kings beating the Detroit Red Wings. One of my losses there, but totals 6-3-1. Yesterday, 6 overs, 3 unders, 1 push. If you are a away versus home bettor for all the games combined, or a Graham Salami bettor, the away teams won. It was a plus price there, and the Grand Salami went over 62.5 with a total of 66 goals.
Way over. It'll be hard today with just 3 games. Tomorrow will be very interesting because we do have 30 teams in action tomorrow on the ice. Feels like these dogs are covering a lot in college basketball. We've kind of been talking about that with conference play going on, and some of them even the second time seeing each other. So 21 dogs covered yesterday out of the 35 games going on. So that's pretty good there if you are betting on underdogs. And I just thought of it. I should have been taking these numbers, putting them on a spreadsheet as you do them every day, because it feels like we've had a lot of under nights in the NBA, but I don't have those exact numbers. But another one, 5 unders, 1 push, and 1 over in those 7 games. So very interesting stuff. Some news in the head coaching world for the NFL. Looks like the Raiders and the Cardinals are last to the party. Hoping the Raiders are waiting for Kubiak to get done with the Super Bowl, and hopefully they do have a plan there. But both of these teams got their initial interview, so they can move forward with a remote one, I believe, still here for the next 11 days before the Super Bowl. But what do we got, Ryan? We've got some coaching hire news.
Yeah, so, first off, we didn't mention yesterday that Joe Brady was promoted to be the Buffalo Bills head coach. He is promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach. To me, it seems just like more dysfunction in that front office. Get rid of one coach and just promote from within. It's not really a change of the guard or a culture reset. It's more of the same, and having a guy to point the finger at and say it was Sean McDermott's fault. But anyway, Cleveland Browns announced a head coaching hire this morning. Todd Monken is named their head coach. He was previously their offensive coordinator in 2019 under Freddie Kitchens, and he publicly stated, or I guess not publicly, more privately in conversation, but it has come out that he really did not like being the offensive coordinator there under Freddie Kitchens. Kitchens kept play call while Monken was the offensive coordinator. Monken then left and went to be the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach at Georgia for 3 years, and then went to the Baltimore Ravens, where he's been for the last 3 years as well. So going over from the Baltimore Ravens to now the Cleveland Browns, people did think that he might be taking the offensive coordinator job with the Giants, following Harbaugh to the Giants, but he decides to take a head coaching job of his own there in Cleveland and still in the AFC North. But yeah, you mentioned the Cardinals and Raiders are the last 2 teams hunting for a head coach.
Pretty crazy, because the rumor was that they let Harbaugh go because they wanted to let Todd Monken go as the OC, and he said no. So then, I thought he would probably follow him over to the Giants. We'll see what happens there in Cleveland. Another interesting little note is more rumors, speculations that they were telling these candidates for the head coach that the DC was already set with Jim Schwartz, and now that's unknown if he's even going to be staying there. So we'll keep you updated. A lot of news coming out here. How many total head coaches vacancies were there? Was it 10?
It was 10.
It was 10. Okay. So 8 now have found their new head coach. 2 more to go with the Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
Very interesting. Do you want to go results from yesterday's poll? We have a new poll. We have a post. We've got a lot going on our YouTube page. So stay active. Make sure you guys are checking up on it.
Yeah, so yesterday we asked you guys what your final score predictions were for the big game coming up in 2 Sundays, Super Bowl 60, whether you were going over the total, under the total. We did have some final score predictions. So we did have 20-13 Seattle, 30-24 Seattle, 27-10 Seattle, 24-17 Seattle, and 27-20 Seattle. So not a whole lot of Patriots love there for our guy Matt and Everett, but if you are a Patriots backer or do think they might get it or want to give your own score prediction, make sure you go check out our posts on our YouTube page. We do have one today talking about Super Bowl MVP. We gave you guys the 4 options, but you can also comment a different one if you think a different guy would win it. But we gave you the 2 quarterbacks, Drake May and Sam Darnold, and then a defensive player for both teams. We gave you Marcus Jones for the Patriots, also their return man, the guy that I'm kind of looking at there, or Leonard Williams for the Seattle Seahawks. So go ahead and go over to our post or do so after the show and put your votes in or comment whichever player you think wins Super Bowl MVP. But yeah, we'd love to get your guys' thoughts and the interaction there.
We're going to need Matt and Everett to please chime in and give his score prediction because we cannot be the curse here for the Seattle Seahawks. We need some Patriots love in there and some people to give their prediction with that side. Maybe Dave Portnoy will stop in for us. That would be very helpful as well. But speaking of that segment we did with Todd yesterday that is on the YouTube channel as well that people can go check out, not a lot of necessarily bets already being made, but really just a look as a whole when looking at props and how to bet the Super Bowl. I found it very interesting and very educational. Was there any part that really stood out to you from Todd or our guy Chris Andrews, sportsbook director here at the South Point? Because there was one thing for me, Ryan, and he really said at the end there not to get too caught up and have tunnel vision. And I've had a Super Bowl like that, and it was actually when the Chiefs lost to Tampa Bay, and I was full on Chiefs props, right? And then nothing really went their way, O-line problems. So it was a bad year for me, right? In regards to winning. So was there anything that really jumped out to you?
Yeah, yesterday's segment with Todd, you guys talked for 35 minutes. Todd is a former bookmaker and now works with CBS Sports as a professional handicapper. It was extremely educational. He kind of highlighted, he and Chris both highlighted, and you as well, also highlighted the importance of getting the best price, shopping around. If you find a prop you like, make sure you're getting the best of it, making it advantageous for yourself. And then also, we make bets based on how we think the game flow will be, and I've been victim to that. But Todd also talks about not being so focused on doing that. If you are going to play player props, do it on guys that aren't their impact on the game isn't necessarily indicative of how the game flow is going or how the game script is going. So make sure, like for Jackson Smith-Njigba, if you think he's going over and the Seahawks are going to be flooding or force feeding him the ball and passing a ton, make sure you're getting the best of the lowest number of receptions that you can, because you talked about his median numbers and that kind of stuff. It is a great video to go watch to learn more about how to bet the Super Bowl. That's why we titled it that way. It is a great video for you guys to check out to be educated on how to go about the props.
That part really did stick out to me as well. And I was kind of thinking, maybe looking at one of the running backs, because I think he used it as an example. But if you like Kenneth Walker, right, and maybe looking at the rushing yards, maybe not so much that it's going to play in the whole role of them blowing out the Patriots, but just handing him the ball at the end of the game to run off clock. So it doesn't fit fully in your game script. But so, yeah, very good watch and listen if you want to go check that out. That kind of leads us right into our next little segment that we are going to talk about here with our two Super Bowl teams, Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots. You did a great job making this graphic. I wanted to take some time and actually go through each team. Let's start off with Seattle. We've got their entire regular season schedule. We've got their 2 playoff games on here. Kind of just want to go through it on who they did play. We're going to compare, I guess, eye test. We already know the strength of schedule that ESPN gives them and, other numbers out there, but kind of just going through the eye test and looking at these games, maybe in chunks, and then also how they did against the spread, how they did total-wise over and unders. But let's start with Seattle here. And there is one thing that kind of just flashed back to me, Ryan, that really has nothing to do with this, but just thinking of Seattle and the offensive coordinator and Clint Kubiak. Remember last year when we started the season and the Saints were the hot team, and it was all about the Saints were going to go to the Super Bowl, and that was all because of Clint Kubiak, who was the offensive coordinator in New Orleans at the time. A lot of injuries, including Derek Carr. He ended up having like 3 different quarterbacks. So I think that's fascinating because just all the changes that Seattle made, including going out to get him as their OC, going to get Sam Darnold, trading DK, making JSN the number 1, just a lot has happened in just a short period of time here for this team.
Yeah, I am just kind of bringing up a point on the Saints. They did also lose Chris Olave, the number 1 wide receiver. So they did we saw the fall off of the Saints last year, and that's not necessarily Kubiak's fault. It was more so the injuries that kind of came up. And yeah, you mentioned Derek Carr was their quarterback.
It was just crazy. I mean, they were on pace to do something that we hadn't seen offensively, really. I mean, no team could really figure out what they were doing with, like you said, just Olave and an older running back in Alvin Kamara, but they were playing outstanding. And so that kind of, I guess, leads me to liking them having an extra week to prepare for this big game as well.
Yeah. And we saw what they were able to do against the Rams defense, who had seen them twice earlier in the year, and bringing in new plays and schemes. But anyway, to kind of bring up this schedule graphic that Matt had kind of said was a lot of numbers yesterday. It is the team schedule, the final score of that game, and then whether or not they covered that game, again, based on South Point's closing odds for that game. So, they started the year with a loss. It is also the first time in Super Bowl history that both teams enter the game having lost their first game of the year. So that was a funny note. Matt kind of highlighted that on that yesterday. But lose to the Niners week 1, didn't cover. Then won and covered 3 straight. Then lost and did not cover there against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by the hook there, 38-35. Or I guess they were a 3.5 point favorite, and they ended up losing by 3. So it wasn't just the hook there. But then they won 4 straight, covered 4 straight. Lost the next one to the Rams. The Rams, I think that's supposed to be.
That's right. That's their first game against the Rams.
Yeah, but I put Rams minus 3.5, and Rams won by 2. So that might have been a cover. I might have that one wrong. But then they won their next 9 to finish out the year and get them to this point. Didn't cover against the Colts as a huge favorite, and didn't cover against the Rams as a 2-point underdog, but ended up winning by 1. And then have won and covered 4 straight, including both of which in the playoffs. So,
yeah, that might be the only little mess up there. I think they may have covered on the road, but lost to the Rams, and then not covered at home. But I'm not positive about that one.
Yeah, I can go back and look real quick.
Yeah. Basically, the thing that really stands out is 3 losses, combined 9 points throughout the entire regular season. So regardless, they've been very competitive, and then some of their wins by pretty big margin. Really good teams on there. I mean, that loss to the Buccaneers is when Baker Mayfield was in the conversation for being the MVP, and they had all their wide receivers playing really good right there. That Jags win is looking really good. Texans, a lot of playoff teams and or teams that were over 500 in that. And I'm not just trying to bag on the Patriots with the whole narrative that they didn't play each other. I mean, because there are a lot of games in here as well that you could say weren't that hard, including Phillip Rivers, where they really did struggle, winning 18-16, and it was Phillip Rivers' first game off the couch. So plenty from both sides here.
Yeah, they did cover that Rams game, that first one. They lost, but covered. They were a 3.5 point underdog in that one. So yeah, thank you to Sean for correcting the yes. Then I was able to go look and make sure that number. So yeah, so they were 14-5 against the spread this year.
Okay, 14-5, and then total wise, do we have that or?
That I did not.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I thought that was just included on there. As we have been mentioning, though, start the season, win total 7.5, odds to win the Super Bowl, either 50-1 or 60-1, to win the conference, 35-1, and the division plus 550, which makes them fourth in that division. Some places had the Rams and Niners. They were very close favorites there. And a lot of places did have the Cardinals above the Seahawks. So, all right. Anything else on this one?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the Cardinals above the Seahawks. The Cardinals were above the Seahawks to win the division here. The Seahawks were projected to be the fourth place team in the NFC West based on opening odds here at the South Point.
It's pretty wild. Even after 10 wins last year, but all the changes that we did mention, so there were so many unknowns. It was pretty tough to just kind of blindly bet on that and what was going to happen there.
Yep.
We did know, though, that Mike Vrabel going into New England was going to definitely be an upgrade. Didn't think it would be this quick, right? Everybody's saying they're kind of early to their Super Bowl window, maybe a year or two early, but they keep winning. Can only play the teams on your schedule, right? And they took care of business. So.
Yeah. Expectations were high of the favorite to win Coach of the Year going into the year, but not this high to even win the AFC East. The Bills were obviously the clear favorite there. The Patriots were plus 650 to win the division. They were 50-1 to win the conference here, and then 80-1 to get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl here at the South Point. So kind of going through their schedule.
50-1 to win the AFC is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to think about that conference is the conference that has all the chatter about all the best quarterbacks in it, right? So the fact that, I mean, we talked about with Josh Allen because he was in the playoffs, said no Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and here we are with the Patriots finding a way. So
those four names you just mentioned, yeah, obviously the clear favorites to go to win the AFC, to not miss the playoffs. Big surprise that all three, or the three top quarterbacks that you mentioned there, missed the playoffs, and then Josh Allen wasn't able to get through the AFC without those guys at the top of it. So yeah, the Patriots winning the AFC, obviously a big shocker here. And we had mentioned on yesterday's show that regardless of whoever wins the Super Bowl, it will be the second longest shot based on opening odds to be Super Bowl champion, second to those 2001 Los Angeles Rams, who were, I believe, 130-1 based on opening odds to win the Super Bowl that year. But kind of going into Patriots schedule, they did not start well. 1-2 straight up and against the spread in their first 3 weeks, losing to the Raiders and Steelers. And you lose to the Raiders, you're definitely not looked at as a top team in the AFC.
Pretty wild what happens after that. And if they do win the Super Bowl, that will be crazy. The fact that the Raiders get the number 1 overall pick. And that's the team that they started the season off losing to. It's kind of like a full circle, right? Then they win the Super Bowl. Raiders get the first pick. Pretty crazy. But you're right. Started 1-2 and then faced Carolina and seemed to turn things around there. And then that's when they went on a nice little win streak.
Yeah.
I think it was after the next game when they beat Buffalo, too, that they really got people's attention.
Yeah, beating the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Yeah, obliterating the Panthers and then being able to beat the Bills kind of set the tone in the AFC East, saying that they are there for real. They were a 7.5 point underdog in that game, and won outright by 3. But yeah, that was part of a 10-game win streak. One that they went 8-2 against the spread. Didn't cover as a 5-point favorite against the Falcons. Didn't cover as a 7-point favorite against the Bengals. And then they go into their bye week, lose outright to the Bills, kind of below that game. But then that Ravens game, kind of more turned on its head because Lamar Jackson got injured, and they were able to win and cover there as an underdog again. But 4 straight covers as a favorite going into the AFC Championship game, and then did not cover last week against the Broncos.
I will just say, going back to week 4, where very convincing win, 42-13 over the Panthers, and then on from there, covering that many games. I don't care who you are, it's tough to do week in and week out, and it doesn't really matter who you're playing. I mean, the other thing is a lot of these starting quarterbacks that you are looking at, like Dylan Gabriel was the starting quarterback for Cleveland, but they picked him to be the starter over Sanders, right? When they did, it was Michael Penix Jr. for the Falcons. They didn't cover that one. It was very competitive. And Tampa Bay, even though they had all the injuries, people would still have made the argument that they had more talent throughout the field. So, I mean, you can definitely nitpick this schedule, but overall, what was their ATS?
14-6 after last week's no cover against the Broncos.
Okay. I mean, you can nitpick it, but still, it is very impressive, especially to do all those or get that win streak, right? And win all of those in a row and not trip up anywhere throughout there. Any other points on this one? I still cannot believe those opening odds. And the fact that their win total is actually higher than the Seahawks, but you're getting 80-1 and then 50-1 just for the conference.
Yep. Yeah, we did have Sean in our chat saying that the Raiders could have been Super Bowl champs. That kind of just reminds me that Chris Felica has a tweet, the Bear, friend of the program, friend of Chris Andrews, talking about the Jets and the Patriots. And the Jets had a higher EPA than the Patriots offense, and Chris Felica kind of joked, "You're telling me the Jets have a Super Bowl caliber offense?" Which was obviously not the case if you watch Jets games, if you suffered through Jets games this year. So, football is an amazing sport, and that's why the saying "any given Sunday" exists.
That's right. Is that true? EPA? Wise the Jets were? Or
let me go back and look at Felica's tweet.
Okay. I know that they are one of, I think they're the 12th worst DVOA team to make it to the Super Bowl. But going through those, or hearing those top 10 worst, and that was on Gil Alexander's show, I think 4 out of the 10 ended up winning the Super Bowl anyways. So, like you said, it's one game, any given Sunday.
So it wasn't for the regular season for the Patriots offense.
Okay.
Patriots offense in the playoffs, negative 0.171 EPA per play. Jets offense in the playoffs, negative 0.172 EPA per play. And Felica says, "I'll choose to interpret this as the Jets have a Super Bowl caliber offense." Oh.
Okay, that makes sense. Through those 4 games, I think that has been the biggest criticism there for the Patriots and the lack of offense. When we were bringing up those AFC quarterbacks, though, I mean, CJ Stroud could easily been one of the next guys that was mentioned. And I know he dealt with a lot of injuries. Davis Mills had to step in and get a couple of those wins, and then their defense really got them to the playoffs. But, man, Drake May Company and their defense definitely handled business against the Texans. Okay, let's update. I believe we are still at 4.5 here at the South Point.
Yes.
Any movement, side total, money line, and or I'm on first half, so that kind of scared me. 45.5 and 4.5 here at the South Point. remember, if you come in, make your bet inside the casino, minus 105, both sides for the point spread.
Yeah, so we did move down from the 46 on the total down to 45.5. And then it was kind of an earlier move. They opened 5 here at the South Point, now down to 4.5. That has not moved since they put the number up on Monday. So not much moving on those two here. But yeah, as Alex had mentioned, if you come down to the South Point, make a bet in person on that spread, you only have to lay the minus 105 there. So we'll go from talking about the big championship, the Super Bowl, to some other championships and other sports, and we'll update you guys on NBA futures odds. So
I'm going to let you take it from here, Ryan. Yeah, if you want to just kind of run through Eastern and Western Conference and what we're seeing.
So the graphics we have set up for both the NBA and the NHL are organized via standings or by standings in said divisions. So I know it's not necessarily easy to find the favorites. They might be in second, third, fourth place, but it is kind of where things currently sit. Just to give you guys kind of a picture of where things are. So to win the conference in the East, the Knicks and Celtics are both 4-1, but your favorite is the Detroit Pistons. Don't know the last time that was said, but they are plus 350 to win the East there. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers are 5-1, and the only other team shorter than 10-1 would be the Orlando Magic at 8-1. And then you got a couple teams around 15, the Sixers at 14-1, and the Miami Heat at 15-1. All of those are to win the Eastern Conference. And then looking at the, we'll go NBA title there in the East. No team is shorter than 10-1, shorter than 15-1 to win the NBA title in the East. Celtics, Knicks, 15-1, Pistons, 16-1. So more of a favorite to win the East, but not get through whoever they have to play in the West. 16-1 there for the Pistons to win the title. And then the Cavs at 22-1. And everyone else, well, I guess the Magic are 45-1, but everyone else longer than 50, more triple digits there to win the title from the Eastern Conference. Bouncing back to the West. I know sorry, Sean, I know both conferences are on one graphic, but going back to the West, your favorite is obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder. You are laying a minus 150 price for them to win the West, followed by the Denver Nuggets plus 350. You got the Spurs at 5-1, the Lakers for some reason at 6-1, the Rockets at 8-1. The Rockets at 8-1, and then everyone else is double digits there. And then going to win the title, you're laying a minus 110 on the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are the clear odds-on favorite to win the NBA title. 8 days before the NBA trade deadline, so that's pretty unheard of, but that's where we have it. And then second in the West would be the Denver Nuggets plus 550. And everyone else, you're getting double digits or triple digits. The Lakers and Spurs, 10-1. Again, I genuinely think the only chance that the Lakers have it winning a title is if they trade LeBron. He very clearly holds that team back. Alex, I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but if not, we can go over to the NHL now.
My only thought on this is trying to find out where Giannis is being traded to. Because I do think he is getting moved in the next 8 days. I think he wants that. He just hasn't asked for it yet, right?
Not publicly. No. I do think I think he's worked with the franchise a little bit on trying to figure out a location for him to go. But, I mean, obviously they don't want to include him too much. But, yeah, I do think that the organization definitely knows that he wants out.
Yeah. And, I mean, if we get word of that, I mean, if it is Minnesota or one of these other teams, it would be interesting, though, to go. I mean, you went over the odds. The West is loaded. So it seems like it would be kind of a weird spot. But I have heard national media throw that out there. But that might just be them wanting to see that happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, obviously, if you can predict where Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to get traded, you're going to have tremendous value on winning the conference or winning the title, because those odds will shift dramatically. Even if it is the Oklahoma City Thunder, those odds will get even heavier there to win the NBA title. So
I guess I didn't really have a comment on the LeBron one, because do you actually see that happening, or you think that is a possibility?
I would like to think so. I have kind of seen recently that, I mean, like, the Lakers are the team, so Jeannie Buss doesn't really have much of a say, but she kind of really only signed LeBron to the extension in fear of backlash that they let LeBron go, the GOAT go. No, I mean, you look at the statistics. Luka Doncic is the best player on that team, and when LeBron wants to take over that offense, completely disregard what JJ Redick is setting up and planning for,
Right.
that team falls apart. He's not a leader for that team. I don't know what organization would want to welcome that to their team, to be the go into the sunset for LeBron. But yeah, it's the Lakers organization. If they are going to compete for a title this year, it is not with LeBron James on their bench.
I mean, any organization that needs help with the ticket sales, right,
Yeah,
could definitely use him.
that's pretty much all
For
that he contributes to
going
at this
there.
point. That
And-
and jersey sales.
And jersey sales, yes. It'll be interesting to see. Definitely. Let's is the trade deadline the same for NHL and NBA? Or it's very close?
I believe the trade deadline for the NHL is after
Okay.
we get back from the Olympic break.
Oh, Vince probably actually does know that. I know he's been
Yeah. But yeah, the NBA trade deadline is next Thursday.
Okay.
You
March.
said March. I couldn't hear it through my headphones.
heard March
Yeah, I
6th.
heard March. You said
March.
when? Said 6th? March 6th.
Okay. So some time. That's right, because we've talked about the fact of teams maybe not wanting to trade yet. Make sure everybody comes back completely healthy, right, from the Olympics. So we shall see. But let's go ahead and go odds for that, and then we'll go through our top 10 for
All
this
right.
week.
All right. So we got NHL odds to win the conference. Your favorites for the West would clearly be the Colorado Avalanche. Still just a plus 220. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong conference there. They are plus 150 to win the West. Followed by the Knights at plus 350. You got the Oilers at $5, the Wild at $8, the Stars at $9. Those have kind of the flip-flopped a little bit. And we'll kind of mention it a little bit here in a second, but to mention it now, the Utah Mammoths odds have cut in half from 35-1 to win the West now to 18-1. They are also featured in today's poll for you guys to give your thoughts on, of which current wild card team in the NHL. So we got it. Wild card woes. Which of these current wild card teams in the NHL is most likely to fall out? So we gave you the points and where they're at. So the Canadiens and Bruins are both at 65 points, and the Mammoth are at 60, and the Sharks are at 57. So Canadiens, Bruins, two wildcard teams in the East, and the Mammoth and Sharks, the two wildcard teams in the West. So let us know your guys' thoughts on which team falls out. But yeah, to get back to the odds talk and the futures talk, we'll go through the East, and your favorite to win the East is the Tampa Bay Lightning, followed by the Carolina Hurricanes. Lightning at plus 220, Hurricanes at $3. And then that's sixth. Sixth there in the Atlantic Conference is your Florida Panthers, plus 450. So again, I understand that it's not necessarily an odds order, but it is in current standing of how the teams are situated in their playoff race.
Ryan, it is pretty crazy right now that both of those Canadiens and Bruins on our poll question there with the 1 and 2 wild card spot, both coming from the Atlantic. So right now, if the playoffs were about to start, we'd have 5 teams from the Atlantic and 3 from the Metropolitan. So that is pretty crazy. But right now, they've got a pretty decent lead. And then Florida is trying to chase them from that same division. And you just talked about their odds, and I think that's a lot of liability there. And a power rating, because
Yes.
you'll see them in my top 10, but very interesting because
And-
there's some good numbers still out there.
The kind of scary thing about that, I mean, yeah, they are so far down the board standings wise. And that just means if they are to make the playoffs, they're playing really good hockey going into the playoffs and would be a team to be reckoned with going in throughout the playoffs. So just to keep that in mind, that's kind of also the thought process and why I was the one to organize it that way. I understand if it might not be the easiest to read, but again, just giving you guys a picture of where things stand. So now we go to
Well,
Stanley
and I
Cup
think
odds.
that helps because, I mean, really, if you're looking for something that jumps out and where they are in the standings, but you're getting a big number if you actually believe in that team,
Yep.
right? From a value standpoint, I think it visually helps a lot.
All right, going to the Cup. We got the Colorado Avalanche 3-1 to win the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning 5-1. The Carolina Hurricanes 7, and the Vegas Golden Knights 8. Everyone else is getting double digits. Looks like the Oilers at 10. Yeah, that's the next closest at 10, and then the Wild at 18. Do you see anything that stands out there?
That same team that I brought up again last week too. So the Wild are 18. What are the Stars?
The Stars are 20.
Because I do have those two kind of flip-flopping back and forth with one another in my power ratings and my top 10. And I do have both of them ahead of the Oilers. So right there kind of gives you a little bit of value. Now, how far do we think either of them can go? Maybe it'd be better to look for an Eastern Conference team just to win the East and try and make it to the Stanley Cup playoff, right? It's tough too because you got Tampa kind of dominating one side and Colorado dominating the other.
Yep.
But anything jump out to you?
Well, I'm just going to kind of regurgitate a stat I heard from Vince yesterday. Andrei Vasilevsky, the Tampa Bay Lightning goalie, has given up 8 goals in the Lightning's last 7 games. And the game prior to that, when Vasilevsky wasn't in net, they gave up 8 goals. So in one game, they gave up 8 goals, and in the last 7 Vasilevsky starts, he's given up 8 goals. So obviously, we will have to look at the Vezina odds, but yeah, he's seeing the puck really well through the screens and whatever. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat that team come postseason time.
I mean, in the playoff pass that he's had, right? This isn't like a first year that he is doing this.
Right.
So to be playing that good, he is one of the best in the league, and that'll be very tough. Experience, I guess, is the word I was looking for there, but that a lot of them on that team, including one of the best goalies in the league. So 8 goals in the last 7. Wow.
You talked about your top 10 a little bit with those Western Conference teams. So do you want to go over your top 10 first?
Sure. Let's jump right into it. I'll try not to be as confusing as I was last week, so I'll just go down, starting from 1. Not a lot of movement in the first 4, and Ryan went over the odds there. The books have them as the favorites to win it all. They are also my top 4. So the Colorado Avalanche, number 1. Tampa Bay Lightning, number 2. Carolina Hurricanes, number 3. And then we've got VGK as number 4. A little bit of a flip-flop here, as I mentioned, because I believe I had Minnesota ahead of Dallas just last week. These two are pretty inconsistent, so that is why they kind of keep moving around here. But I do think that they're worthy of being in the top 6. Dallas Stars, number 5 right now, and the Minnesota Wild, number 6. Edmonton Oilers, they've been at this same spot since we started this 3 weeks ago. A lot of that has to do with having some of the best players in the league, because they haven't been playing all that great, but a couple good wins in the last week. Florida Panthers sneak into my top 10, and that is because the Washington Capitals did not just fall out of my top 10. They fell all the way to 16th in my power ratings because they have been playing terrible hockey as of late. But Florida bumps up to 8, Red Wings at 9, and the Montreal Canadiens at number 10. So that was the only big mover there. A couple here and there, Minnesota and Dallas, and then Florida sneaking in, but they were right there at 11. And then, yeah, Washington, I have had to significantly drop them. I guess that is more of their road power rating than their home. Their home power rating puts them at 12 with the Kings.
Okay.
Kings and them at 12. But I'm going off of their road power rating because you got to be able to win some games on the road as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, Ryan, what say you?
Well, I do have the same teams in my top 10, but it was a good amount of shifting. Because again, my top 10 is based on teams that I'm trusting going and putting money on every day. But also including a little bit of power ranking and respecting what the roster is and not necessarily just going off of kind of the value that we could get. Because if it was, the San Jose Sharks are the best team to back so far this year. And you obviously see they're not in my top 10. So, but number 1 and number 2, just like you, going with the Avalanche and the Lightning. I've got notes on all these teams' records since the start of December. And that's kind of when I've seen things kind of turn up. And things like they're in their groove, starting to get going and playing well. So the Avalanche are 17-8 since the start of December, and the Lightning are 17-9 since the start of December. So big shocker to a lot of people. I do have the Montreal Canadiens at number 3. That is because I trust them a whole lot. And the number that I'm about to say with their record since the start of December doesn't necessarily back that up. But we saw it last night. I did trust them to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. And I have trusted them consistently to be able to win night in and night out. So I do like what the Canadians are able to do, along with the Detroit Red Wings, whose number might surprise you when I say their record since the start of December. So the Canadians, 16-13 since the start of December, and the Red Wings, 19-9 since the start of December. You see a tie from 5-7 with the Oilers, Wild, and Bruins. I am enamored with this Bruins team. I like to back them night in and night out. They have been a very good team for me. Especially playing them in the correct spots. But it's a tie because the Oilers have been pretty consistent this year as a team to trust and a team to trust against. They are 16-12 since the start of December. So are the Wild. But the Oilers are the only team in the league to have not won 3 consecutive games this season. They've won 2, lost 1. Won 2, lost 1. 1-2, lost 2, 1-1, lost 2. Like they have not won 3 games at all this season, and we're past the 50-game mark. That's pretty impressive. If this team is a real contender to win the cup, and we have such a prestige for them. But yeah, it's been pretty fun to kind of it's time for that, which they're going into tonight. They won 2 straight. Or tomorrow. Yeah, tonight. Tomorrow. They play tomorrow. 16-12 since the start of December. But the Bruins 16-11 since the start of December, and the Wild 16-12, as I mentioned. But the Knights are there at 8, followed by the Stars. The Stars have dropped pretty substantially for me. The Knights are 14-3. The Stars are 13-14. 14-13 for the Knights. 13-14 for the Stars. The Stars have been, I've played against them a couple nights, and going back to the Bruins where they beat me on the show on Monday. But yeah, the Stars have been a tough team to back. They've been really struggling, but again, kind of holding their roster and their goaltending in high regard. So they're still in the top 10, even though I would like to put the Islanders in here. I'd like to kind of trust what they're doing a little bit. But the Carolina Hurricanes are there at 10. 16-11 since the start of December. But I was also, when we started doing these our top 10s, they weren't in my top 10 because they're also kind of difficult to trust night in and night out. But they do have a very, very good team, and they are very good at home. So
they are very difficult to trust and overpriced very often.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, Ryan. 14-13 and 13-14 for those two with VGK and the Stars. I'm gonna have to take a look and make sure I'm downgrading the Stars enough. They must just be kind of zigzagging it for me, and I'm missing there. But I'm with you on the Islanders. I'm gonna keep an eye out for them too and make sure I am upgrading and being aggressive with them because I do really like that team. So there is our top 10 compared to the odds and where they are. And if there are any that jump out, we will let you know if we make any bets for future wise.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you guys see on mine, I do have, the Canadians up at 3, and the Red Wings up at 4, and the Canadians are 10 in our odds to win the Stanley Cup. They're also tied with the Los Angeles Kings, who we have Bob Custer asking about in our live chat. Yes. But we're kind of talking about those odds, and we hold the Avalanche and Lightning in such high regard that you are kind of hoping a key piece gets hurt, and you're able to kind of ease things in the in playoff hockey. But that's kind of a hard thing to bank on and ask for. But yeah, good. We pointed out I pointed out the Red Wings futures a couple weeks ago, and pointed out the Canadians futures last week. And Attila mentioned that he sprinkled some spare change on that. So
have those moved at all? Me talking about just betting on to win the East, I'd be interested in for either of those teams.
The
probably.
Cup, I know, hasn't. I'm not quite sure on the East.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I do think the Canadians have dropped, though.
Okay. That's the team I was actually more interested in.
They were not 30 last week.
About the Kings, I've got them right there. I do have them 11th, maybe 12th if we go by home and the Caps are above them. But that kind of goes into the poll question where it looks like the Sharks are winning, where the Kings are right there with San Jose with 57 points, them and Seattle. So it's going to be a race to the end there. Very interesting. Utah, San Jose, Seattle, all being right up there. Some of the worst teams last year.
It's gonna be a really weird spot coming back off the Olympic break, and seeing how these teams get their legs back from the guys not participating in the games, or the guys that are getting the wear and tear and participating in those games for their countries, and having a different level of pride in that versus what they're doing for their teams here.
Yeah, it will. We might have to tread lightly a little bit to start, right? Just diving in, unless we think things are really mispriced and we have some good opportunity for some dogs, but it'll be interesting. All right, let's take a quick break. Actually, before we do that, Ryan, will you read the ticker trivia sponsored by City Light Shine?
That I will.
We'll take a break. If anybody has a basketball game, I do have Kenny White's numbers as well. So if you want those, put them in the chat. I have 2 of his plays. I have 2 plays and an in-game that I like in college basketball, and 1 hockey. Only 3 games tonight, so I figured we can kind of do them with our whiteboard. But let's go to ticker trivia first, and then we'll get both Ryan's thoughts on hockey, my thoughts, and then some college basketball for you guys.
All right, just giving you guys a look at today's question. It is it just go about across the bottom, but it is a question, a tennis. Oh my God, words! It is a tennis question for you guys today. Ticker trivia presented by City Light Shine, available at Lee's Discount Liquor, Total Wine, and the South Point Hotel and Casino. It is written 2 tennis legends, Ivan Lendl and Boris Becker, both won their final majors at the Australian Open on this date in sports history, January 28th, 1990 and 1996, respectively. Question is, between the 2 tennis stars, how many major wins do they share? So we'll take a quick break, let you guys get your answers in the chat, and we'll give you guys the official answer at the end of the show.
Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement.
Ready to ramp up your excitement for playoff football? Join our hosts as they break down the matchups, key angles, and futures markets in the final episodes of Football Frenzy.
Seattle Seahawks get it done.
You look at these two teams and you say, wow, they did really well against quality opponents.
Brock Purdy to throw an interception tied up with the Seahawks in this game. I think that's a little bit of a correlation.
I would have given a huge ups to the Rams defensively. Not anymore.
Don't miss your chance to cash tickets and root for your favorite team. Stream Football Frenzy every Friday at noon Pacific.
Okay, and we are back here, Sports by the Book, live from the South Point Hotel and Casino, live from the South Point studio, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. Vegas time. That is Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays at noon. You don't want to miss this week or next week. We're going to have some special guests, which will be bookmakers from around the city. So we'll have some really good information for you for these football frenzies coming up. All right, Ryan, let's go ticker trivia, poll results, and then our best bets. I did see JR requested one. Maybe it wasn't JR. He has notes and trends for us. Somebody requested one college basketball. So any more, let us know in there. Otherwise, we're just going best bets.
All right, going back to ticker trivia presented by City Light Shine, available at Lee's Discount Liquor, Total Wine, and here at the South Point Hotel and Casino. Again, a tennis question for you guys. And Bob, thank you for correcting my pronunciation. Two tennis legends, Ivan Lendl and Boris Becker, both won their final major titles at the Australian Open on this date in sports history, January 28th in 1990 and 1996, respectively. Between the two tennis stars, how many major wins do they share? And a big shout out to Attila, who got the answer correct. Lendl won 8 major titles from 1984 to 1990, and Boris Becker won 6 majors from 1985 to 1996, with a total of 14 major wins between both athletes. Lendl was considered the pioneer of a more powerful and aggressive style of gameplay common in professional tennis today. Becker is the youngest player to have won the men's singles title at Wimbledon to date, doing so at the age of 17. Again, Attila with the correct answer of 14 total major wins shared between Ivan Lendl and Boris Becker.
Very good. I wish I handicapped tennis. We might have to get Vince's thoughts because I know he's been keeping up with it at the Australian Open, but I have not. Yeah, we'll have to ask him. If anybody else watches or has been paying attention and likes somebody future-wise, maybe let us know in the chat. Love to hear it. Do you need to put your picks? Okay, I'll start it off with my whiteboard here, and I'll start off too with, I'm going to use Kenny White's numbers here. UCLA, an Oregon game. He's got the Bruins 6.5 on the road. I believe they are still 5. And he does have an underplay. 132.5 is his total compared to the 138.5. I'm not sure if that has dropped down, but I'm kind of treading lightly with those unders. I was tempted to play DePaul and Georgetown too. Under, it's a pretty big difference there. It's a lean, but I'm not going to put it on my whiteboard. I actually like 2 favorites today. One of them, I'm going with the more desperate team here. I don't know if that's kind of, there's a glare there, Sean, but I'm going with LSU. They did get De'Don Thomas back, their starting point guard. He's played 2 games, kind of doubled in minutes played in that second game. They need some wins, though, playing up against Mississippi State. I think they're the more desperate team, just 1 conference win for LSU in SEC play. So I like them here. Also think they could be a much bigger favorite in this spot. And then I like Houston at TCU, -7. Kind of going the other way. Took the point, took 7.5. Some bettors in this one, but I'm going on the other side because I think they should be double-digit favorites on the road against TCU. They're coming off a loss to Texas Tech. I think this is a great bounce-back spot for Kelvin Sampson's team, and I do think that this is one of his better teams. So Houston, LSU, 2 favorites, and then NHL, let's keep it going. Going with the hockey favorite. I'm going with the Colorado Avs here. Kind of a fade of Ottawa after scoring 7 goals on VGK, a little bit of a letdown spot. I also have the Avalanche -165. So it's a 20-cent difference for me. And I'm going to tie them up with the Seahawks and hopefully get that first bet out of the 2-teamer and keep it in the account until Super Bowl. So that's my plays today. Ryan, what about you?
It is a solo play today,
Solo play.
and we're thinking the Avalanche win by at least 2 goals there in Ottawa. It is the second of a 4-game road trip for the Avalanche, the first of a back-to-back. They are in Montreal tomorrow. They are 5-1-1 on the first of a back-to-back this year, 4-2-1 in the second, so it hasn't really played into the handicap in the second of a back-to-back. But Ottawa coming off of a 7-1 win against the Knights, matching one of the worst losses in Vegas Golden Knights history. It's also the first time that they've ever beaten the Vegas Golden Knights at home in Ottawa. So I'm thinking that it's more of a reality check and a back down to earth spot, even though Ottawa did play very well. I do think the Knights were just kind of sleepy in that game. It is the third of a 4-game homestand for the Senators. They won, or not in this homestand, but earlier this year, actually 2 weeks ago, they beat the Rangers 8-4 in New York, came back home, lost in overtime 6-5 to Montreal, and then lost the next night in overtime as well. So it might be a tighter game, but I'm thinking the Avalanche will be ready for it, winning by at least 2. And then just to kind of bring in some other notes from the 2 other games taking place tonight, Flyers and Blue Jackets and Rangers and Islanders. It is the first of a back-to-back for the Flyers. They are in Boston tomorrow. They are coming off of a 4-0 shutout against the Islanders. And the Flyers have also lost 8 of their last 10. But first of a back-to-back. They are 4-2-1 in the first of a back-to-back and 2-4-1 on the second. So you guys know I trust Boston. I will be playing Boston tomorrow just to give you guys an early look at that one. However, for tonight's game specifically in Columbus is winners of 6 of their last 7. Coming off of an 8-5 win against Tampa. They were supposed to have the Kings on Monday following that 8-5 win. Kind of, again, maybe a reality check, kind of testing whether or not they're staying hot. But that game was postponed. So now this is the game following that 8-5 win. That one on Monday was supposed to be the 4th of a 5-game homestand, as I said. But this will now be the 4th of now 4-game homestand. So the last of a homestand for the Blue Jackets. I do think they'll end up being okay here against the Flyers, even though the Flyers are coming off of a flat spot. Going to the final game of the night in New York, Rangers and Islanders. First of a back-to-back for both. First of a home-and-home. They are in Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. It's the third meeting of 4 between the 2 teams. Again, they play their 4th tomorrow. The Islanders have won both, and the Rangers have yet to score a goal. The Rangers were shut out in both prior meetings. So obviously, we're on the road here for the Rangers, so they have been playing better on the road this year than in MSG. If it was in MSG, I might say they might get shut out again, but that's for tomorrow night. So going Rangers, coming off of a 4-3 overtime win against Boston, in which I played Boston. They beat me there, but they had lost 3 straight prior to that. Again, all on the road there, so not necessarily playing well on the road, but this is also in New York, so not exactly a road trip. The Islanders have not won consecutive games in a month. In a month, though, so they are coming off of a shutout win against those aforementioned Flyers, 4-0 win there. They have pitched 6 shutouts so far. I guess that was their 7th. But in their previous instances of pitching a shutout, they are just 1-4-1 in the game following. So not necessarily able to keep the defense strong following a shutout. So considering that they shut out the Flyers, don't know if they'll actually get a shutout here again against the Rangers, but who knows?
There is one positive with that, Ryan, because I actually was going to play the under between these two, but it's not going to be Jonathan Quick. They are saving him for tomorrow. It is going to be Spencer Martin, who is 1-2 on the year with a 3.90 goals against. So,
yeah, 6.5 in that game too. Only 110 both ways.
Yep. If you were leaning towards the Islanders, that might help you out there. I was wondering why, too. They had made that switch, but that makes sense because they'll be right back against this team tomorrow. So, you're debating?
I am debating that. I'll keep you guys posted if I end up playing that under in the game tomorrow. If I do, I'll write it on my whiteboard, and if it loses, we'll still count it against. But if it wins, I won't necessarily consider it as part of my whiteboard that I gave you guys today. So, but we do have our poll results for today's show. Wildcard woes: which of these 4 teams currently holding a wildcard spot in the NHL is most likely to fall out? Canadians and Bruins both at 65 points there in the Eastern Conference, and the Mammoth and Sharks in the Western Conference. Mammoth at 60 points and Sharks at 57. And we got some Knights homers in the chat saying the Sharks are going to fall out of that wild card spot. 63% of the vote don't think the Sharks can keep things moving, and in Shark ways, not get stuck and end up, as a Shark does.
I actually voted for the Sharks. But I think, I don't know. It was mostly just because of the other teams, how close they were behind them. But I could see them actually pushing it and making it into the playoffs. They might even make some more moves here. But interesting you were looking ahead to tomorrow, because I was as well.
Got 15 games tomorrow.
Yeah. And you're looking at Boston. I was looking at that under. And if you're seeing a 6.5 and those actually open, I would go under 6.5. I think that's going to move to the minimum 6, potentially even close at 5.5 between the Flyers and the Bruins. And then Blackhawks, I can't quit their unders. Blackhawks and Penguins, and Stuart Skinner's been really good. So if that's a 6.5 as well, I would lean to that one under. Anything else jump out to you, or you wanted to look for a certain number?
Not exactly. It immediately, yeah. It is the Bruins tomorrow. Let's see where we're at in the market with that one. Minus 170. I'll probably end up playing them on the puck line then. 160, 155 in some spots. If it's shorter than 150, I'll take it. But
so I do have 2 7s, Ryan. Let me ask you, which one do you think is going to move from 6.5 and or even open at 7? The Sharks and the Oilers, or the Ducks and Vancouver, or both?
I would, yeah. I mean, considering we just saw the Oilers and Ducks have a 7, I would be much more inclined to, or I would definitely think that one might open a 7 or be heavy juice to the over there at the 6.5.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get a 7 there in Anaheim, Vancouver, just because Vancouver really, really struggles. So.
True, where you can get some goals from both sides in the other one. So something to look out for if you see that open up at 6.5 and it's not crazy juice, it's just minus 120. I want to take a little bit of that as well. All right. If you found anything else, I'm sorry I kind of cut you off. Jump into those 7s there.
Not quite. Well, you guys will just have to tune in tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you are watching live or if you are watching the replay, again, happy birthday to Ryan's daughter, Aubrey. There's the confetti. Very good. Hopefully she is watching.
She's playing with her cousins, jumping on trampolines or playing with dolls.
Okay, enjoying her birthday.
Yeah.
Doing kid stuff. Very good. Please give us a like as well on this show and our freestanding shows that are on there. Our records Please check those out. We appreciate it. Leave some comments, and we definitely want to hear from you guys with your predictions moving forward, getting closer to the Super Bowl. Dwayne Colucci joins us tomorrow. We're going to get his thoughts on the coaching hires, on Bill Belichick not getting in first ballot Hall of Fame. We'll talk to him about that. And we'll talk about the Super Bowl with our favorite DC. And then on Friday, as I mentioned, noon, that is 12 p.m. Pacific time, Football Frenzy. We are back. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the crew and Jerry, Sean, Vince, and Drew Dog. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in and chatting with us. And we'll see you again tomorrow. For Ryan McCormick, I'm Alex White. You've been watching Sports by the Book.